Yeah, hey everyone. So for today's topic, I wanted to talk about process level workarounds. So just as an FYI, we'll be talking about process level workarounds, and we'll also talk about different operating systems, different behaviors for forked and non-forked executions, items of that sort. So the process level workarounds aren't necessarily the only way to get around this. My suggestion is identify the operating system being used for the runtime, and then from there, listen to the process level workarounds, which is what today's topic will cover. And then also listen to the operating system specific. So we'll talk about Windows, Linux, and with each one, forked and not forked executions. So, with that said, today's topic, I'll talk about two different workarounds for this hung process problem. We'll talk about like problems with each of these two workarounds, use cases you can and can't use them, and items of that sort. So, with that said, the first workaround would be to copy the process, rename it, and redeploy the new process. So think about it this way. If I take my sleep script, so I know it's in my testing folder or training, I'm sorry, take this, copy it. I'm going to copy all my dependents, pick it to go into a folder. What this is going to do is it's going to create a new component for everything. So new connection component, new items of that sort. So from there, there's no reference to the old execution. You can just name it something a little different just so you know. So if I'm going to copy it, let's say I called it like sleep script copy, it's the copy. And then from there, you can redeploy this process. So this process has no reference to the hung process. And then from there, obviously, it's going to work as good as it's going to work at that point in time. So the only problem with that, there are a couple, obviously. So let's say the hung execution is stuck at a specific point in time. So let's say it's stuck in a database. We'll talk about how to determine where it's stuck, whether it's post or during that point in time analysis. That'll once again be another topic, so don't worry about that for now. But with that said, let's say it's stuck in a specific shape, and then you redeploy this process and it's going to get stuck as well because of whatever shape that may be. This may not be the best workaround. Assuming this was a one off incident and you kind of understand what happened, this can work as a viable workaround. The only other negative to this is it may have licensing implications. So, depending on if the connectors were copied and they're a new connector, as you guys are aware, licensing is based on unique connectors. Technically, this would be a unique connector, and deploying this would deploy X unique connectors. So, it does have licensing implications. So, with that said, the second workaround at a process level is for, if you go to options, turning on simultaneous executions. So as it says there, pretty self-explanatory, multiple executions of the specific process are allowed at the same time. Typically, we do recommend this for more event-driven processes. So shared web server, let's say something's listening over AS2, as it says there, items along that sort, but you can also use it for batch scheduled processes just because, let's say, the problem that you end up happening with this process being hung is the process is already running and it points to an execution ID that's hung. This would essentially bypass that specific problem. So, with that said, this once again may not be applicable for certain use cases. Let's say your batch process utilizes some sort of first in, first out, which may not be good considering the process that's hung might not have got to that point in time. Persisted properties, counters, items of that sort that may need to be persisted on each specific execution. So this might not be the best use case for that. But just as an FYI, what I was referring to with the process is already running error is, let's say I ran my process, I ran my sleep script. So let's say here, sleep script, I ran it. Let's let it get into a pending state. Just give it 1 minute. So now that it kicked off, let's say I try to execute it again. Currently, the condition is that two processes cannot execute at the same time at once. So let that kick off. And as you can see, process is already running. Let's say this execution that it's pointing to is hung. That's because of that simultaneous execution property. And then from there, we could obviously allow it and redeploy per use case. All right, sounds good, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day.